salaamaaleykum mbokki jullit yi ginnaaw bi leen nuyoo gërëm leen di leen sant tey nag ñu ñëw fii teewal leen ci Korite gi ñu ngi koy jullee nag fii ci Bastan Road 4000 Bastan Road nga xam ne jumaa ñoo xam ne mbokku jullit yi ñoo ko ubbi fii ñëpp ñi nga xam ne ci dëkk bi lañ nekk jógee ci réew Afrique yi te doon jullit tey fii lañ dajee ci jumaa ji julli fii Korite ñu ngi leen gërëm rek di leen sant di leen may taaxalu ngeen seetaan julli bi dañu ñëwaat incha allah jërëjëf.
نصر عبده وأعظم وحده لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وعلى أصحاب سيدنا محمد وعلى أنصار سيدنا محمد وعلى أزواج سيدنا محمد وعلى ذرية سيدنا محمد وسلم تسليما كثيرا الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر كثيرا والحمد لله كثيرا وسبحان الله بكرة وأصيلا لا إله إلا الله صدق وعده ونصر عبده وعاز الجند وهدم الأحزاب ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وعلى أنصار سيدنا محمد وعلى أزواج سيدنا محمد وعلى ذرية سيدنا محمد وسلم تسليما كثيرا ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وعلى أصحاب سيدنا محمد وسلم تسليما كثيرا الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله وعده ونصر عبده وعاز الجند وهزم الأحزاب وحده لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وعلى أصحاب سيدنا محمد وعلى أنصار سيدنا محمد وعلى أزواج سيدنا محمد وعلى ذرية سيدنا محمد وشر الأحزاب وعده لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وعلى أصحاب سيدنا وعلى أزواج سيدنا محمد وعلى ذرية سيدنا محمد وسلم تسليما كثيرا الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر كبيرا والحمد لله كثيرا وسبحان الله بكرة وأصيلا لا إله إلا الله صدق وعده ونصر عبده اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وعلى أصحاب سيدنا محمد وعلى أنصار سيدنا محمد وعلى أزواج سيدنا محمد وعلى ذرية سيدنا وعاز الجند وهزم الأحزاب وحده لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى ذرية سيدنا محمد وسلم تسليما كثيرا الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله صدق وعده ونصر عبده وعز جنده وعزم الأحزاب وعده لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله ولله الحمد. الله أكبر كبيرا والحمد لله كثيرا وسبحان الله بكرة وأصيلا. لا إله إلا الله صدق وعده ونصر عبده وعز جنده وهزم الأحزاب وحده. لا إله إلا الله. صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وعلى أصحاب سيدنا محمد وعلى أنصار سيدنا محمد وعلى أزواج سيدنا محمد وعلى ذرية سيدنا محمد وسلم تسليما كثيرا. الله أكبر الله كبيرا والحمد لله كثيرا وسبحان الله بكرة وأصيلا. لا إله إلا الله صدق وعده ونصر عبده وعز جنده وله الدين ولو كره الكافرون. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وعلى أصحاب سيدنا محمد وعلى أنصار سيدنا محمد وعلى أزواج سيدنا محمد وعلى ذرية سيدنا محمد. السلام عليكم.
Brothers, before we start, brothers and sisters, actually, I hope none of us is still holding their fast. We have broken our fast, we have eaten something, at least drunk water before this, because we don't have to. It's a sunnah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, on the Eid day, he would take 3 dates to break his fast, to show that he's not fasting on that day before he goes to the masjid. So it is very important that we are not holding any fast. And another thing is that, let's remember, have we all paid our zakatul fitr? Because once you don't pay it and after the salah you pay it, it's just like a sadaqah from among the sadaqahs. So let's try as much as possible. I hope we've all done it. Jazakumullah khairah. And the Eid Salah, the first rak'ah after Takbirat al-Ihram, it follows 6 takbirat. Then in the second rak'ah, after the Imam gets up and says Allahu Akbar, 5 takbirat follow. So that's how it is. Jazakumullah khairan. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. Allahu Akbar kabira, walhamdulillahi kathira, wa subhanallahi bukratan wa asila. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Innal hamdalillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastahdihi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil falan tajida lahu waliyyan murshida. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu. هو الله الذي لم يتخذ ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك ولم يكن له ولي من الذل وكبره تكبيرا. وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. اللهم أجرنا من النار. أما بعد, Alhamdulillah, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this blessing. It is a very big ni'mah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made us see through the Ramadan. There were no any issues. Alhamdulillah, we were able to start it with Bismillah and we've ended it with Alhamdulillah. That is a very big ni'mah. However, my dear brothers and sisters, there are a lot of people out there who don't have that kind of opportunity Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. So that shows how big it is for us. So we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. My dear brothers and sisters, when it comes to Ramadan, we all know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relates to us that every single deed that Ibn Adam actually does, it is for him. The reward is for him. The reward is for that Ibn Adam. He is paid for that. But when it comes to Ramadan, when it comes to fasting, fasting is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He rewards for that. So we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He writes us among those He's going to reward directly and not through any angels. Alhamdulillah. But my dear brothers and sisters, what are the lessons we have learned from the Ramadan? We know that it is a festival. That's how people look at it. But what are the lessons we have learned from it? I'm going to relate with you with some few. I have 10, but with time, we may not be able to cover everything. 1, Ramadan teaches us self-discipline, to discipline ourselves. Things that we do outside Ramadan. When it comes to Ramadan, we are a bit more cautious about it. For instance, listening to music, watching some kind of programs and stuff like that. We kind of discipline ourselves in Ramadan. That is one of the barakahs of Ramadan. And then another thing is that it raises our level of Allah's consciousness. You are being very conscious about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Ramadan. That is another ni'mah. Another thing is that it helps us to maintain selflessness. The issue of being greedy, Ramadan kind of takes it away from you. You kind of feel for the other person. Because after all, what is the reason for Ramadan? To have the feeling for the other person. You have the opportunity to eat, to drink, and to nourish at any time you want. Some other people don't have that kind of opportunity. So it kind of creates that kind of selflessness in us. Alhamdulillah. And another thing is that it kind of brings us together. Let's imagine, in Ramadan, our masajid tend to get full. So this is one of the barakahs. People tend to have that kind of sense of community, bringing us together. Alhamdulillah. And we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are part of the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Another thing is that it teaches us to be patient. Because once you are fasting, even though we all know that when you are hungry, you tend to be angry. But alhamdulillah, when it comes to Ramadan, because you know you are doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you are very conscious about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it kind of gives you that discipline. Another thing is that it gives us more energy and encourages us to do more good. Alhamdulillah. Because when we fast, we tend to have that kind of zeal in us to do a lot more good than to actually hold back. So we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. It makes people healthy and strong. And we all know this is a scientific proof. Whoever, like when you go to a medical doctor and you complain of some issues, sometimes they prescribe fasting for you. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is prescribing fasting for us, then you know that it is more healthier for us than even what the doctors will prescribe for us. Because doctors will just prescribe that you go for like 6 hours without eating. But Ramadan, we go far more than that. And my dear brothers and sisters, let's imagine how we feel when you fast. It makes you kind of feel a lot more like you are not so heavy. You feel very, very, very healthy. So alhamdulillah, that's another benefit. But for some reason, this is not just an option for us. It is a requirement. So it shows that Ramadan in itself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has used it to make sure that we get healthy. We don't just go around doing things the way we want. And another thing again is that it purifies our bodies and souls. Because imagine when you do the fasting and when you break the fasting, the kind of, as I mentioned earlier, the kind of feeling we have. So we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us that opportunity to be part of those who do the fasting. But my dear brothers and sisters, this may not be our reason for fasting, our reason for fasting is to actually feel for the other person, not necessarily to go hungry. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't need you to be hungry. He doesn't need your hunger if you keep yourself hungry while you're not being kind to the other person. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no need for your fasting. So the fasting tells us how to feel for the other person. And we have this hadith, just to summarize things, that man asbaha minkum aminan, that amongst you, whoever wakes up very healthy, his community is very safe, and he has something to eat for the entire day. It is as if the whole world has come to them. That is a hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whoever wakes up, the person is healthy in the body, healthy in the mind, his community is safe, and he has something to eat for the day. It is as if that person has the whole world. My dear brothers and sisters, why do I talk about this hadith? We know what is going on out there in the world. A lot of us, or those of us that find ourselves in the United States, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us that blessing. How much more those are out there in the war-torn zones? Let's remember that we have countries, Islamic countries right now, that are going through situations that we don't find here. Let's remember our brothers in Philistine. This is Ramadan, this is Eid, but they don't have the opportunity to gather as we gather now because of the Israelites' apartheid. Let me just put it that way. Necessarily Sudan and Philistine, there are other Islamic countries that currently go through that difficulties. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not made that like for us to go through that. That is a big baraka. So we have to always remember that in situations like this, we don't have to just sit down, celebrate, and then enjoy the holidays. We have to remember that some people are somewhere. The least we can do for them is to keep them in our dua. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us peace. And for this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is related to us in the Quran that وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَغَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. That if you were to count the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you wouldn't have been able to count them. And among the blessings is the fact that we are here very peaceful. We come, we enjoy our salah, and we go home to our families. That is one of the biggest ni'mah. Right now, if we should ask people that went through the earthquake, that what is the big thing that they want from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Astaghfirullah li wa lakum wa li sa'iril muslimin fastaghfiruhu innahu huwal ghafurur rahim wa huwal barrul karim. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. My dear brothers, Ramadan has done. We have finished with Ramadan. But is that the end of fasting? No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in the Holy Quran that if you do one good thing, He will return it in 10 folds. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will return it in 10 folds, and we have been able to fast for one whole month, and He's going to return it in 10 folds, then it indicates that we have 10 months of jaza from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But is it the end of fasting? My dear brothers and sisters, in this month, there are some 6 days Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is encouraging us to do, and that is the Sittat Shawwal. Let's try as much as possible. We have been able to go through one whole month without any problems. I don't think it's going to be anything difficult for us to go through 6 days. So if we make the math, that if you do man ja'a bil hasana falahu ashru amthaliha, that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us. Now whoever comes with something good, falahu ashru amthaliha, he gets 10 times that. Now if we do the math, 1 whole month has 10 months of jaza. And then the 6 days, if we are going to convert it into months, that means we have 2 months of jaza, because every single day would equal 10 days. So that would be up to 2 months for the 6 days in Sittatu Shawwal. Now, if we add those 2 months into the 10 months of Ramadan, that means we have 1 whole year of fasting jaza. So that means if we try as much as possible, after end of this month, Shawwal, we are able to fast 6 days, that we have 1 entire year of jaza from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let's try as much as possible. We have been able to sacrifice to fast 1 whole month. There were no any issues. Let's try and then continue and then make this Sittatu Shawwal. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. But before I finish, I have some few things to touch. One, we have to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our fasting. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our fasting. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it that we fasted for him, not because we fast for people to see. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make barakah in our lives. Then another thing is, my dear brothers and sisters, we have people amongst us that do not have documents up till now. They are in America, they don't have documents, and it is very difficult. The situation is very difficult when you are here without documents. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant them documents. Wherever the documents are going to come from, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring it to them. If the documents are far away, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring them near. If they are near, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put it in their hands. That's another thing. Another thing we have to pray for is our women. They are the reason why we have successful Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them whatever they need. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make them among the women of Jannah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them the patience. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in their lives. And in our children, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in them as well. And to end, last 2 weeks, we organized a naming ceremony in this masjid. One of our community members, his wife gave birth to a baby boy. We had a naming ceremony here, and alhamdulillah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put that kid in the way of the deen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide the kid and his parents and his siblings into the deen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of us. And alhamdulillah, after that, they donated $100 to the masjid for the naming ceremony. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replenish them in 1,000 folds. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا إنك جامع الناس ليوم لا ريب فيه إن الله لا يخلف الميعاد. That the back door is open for our mothers. So our mothers, the back door is open. When we leave here, you can just go to the back. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم.
mbokku jullit yi ñu leen di nuyu di leen gërëm di leen ziara ci Korite gi ñu leen wax rek tey bisu Korite bi fii lañ ko jullee ci jumaa ji Louisville Kentucky 40 par 100 imam bi jiite na wax dëgg yàlla ñaanal na ñëpp ñu ngi ñaanal askan bi ñu ngi ñaanal Sénégal ñu ngi ñaanal ñëpp ñi nga xam ne tey Korite gi fekkee nañ ko ñu ngi ñaanal tamit waaye daal yi nga xam ne yàlla jëlee na leen fi ñu ngi ñaanal jàmm suñu réew ñu ngi ñaanal mbokku jullit yëpp ñi nga xam ne tey wari nañ ñu ngeen di ñaanal rek di leen gërëm wasalaam di leen jox dëgg daje rek ci tabaski bi incha allah. amul jëlaat beneen amul ci changé position. jëlaat beneen.
moo gën a leer.